Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucha Rewatch Season 3. We are on episode 10, and in today's episode of Lucha Rewatch, we are going to be covering Lucha Underground Season 3, episodes 19 and 20, aka we're going to be bridging the mid-season gap, brothers.
Absolutely, dude. I'm so happy about this particular episode of Lucha Rewatch because of, just what you said. We get to do episode 19 and then we just go right in like nothing happened because there was such a big gap. And that is one thing, as much as I adored this season, and this is my favorite season of Lucha Underground, I think the one thing it suffered from was that mid-season break, because I like that they're seasonal in structure, but I also think that at most 2 weeks off is fine. But when you go months off, like especially when you're a wrestling product, it does kind of leave it a bit disjointed, at least for me. So it's really cool that we get to kind of view everything in this context, because I think it flows so much better that way. Episode 19, we got, so much, and we continued to lay the groundwork for all night long. And then episode 20 was all night long, which was a great affair, which we'll talk about. And so, yeah, great batch of episodes, and I really am glad that we're doing this today.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm kind of with you in the sense that I wouldn't have minded a mid-season break if it would have been like a week or two, like you said, just because like the way episode 19 ended, it felt like it could have been a natural point for a mid-season break because of Cueto, everybody get out, telling everyone to get out of the temple and stuff. But then you leave for 5 months, and that's not okay.
See, and that's the thing. I think, like, say if it was just 2 weeks. 2 weeks, you stoke the flames of anticipation. All night long and all the blah. When it gets 5 months, it's just fatigue. Like, when are you coming
the worst
back,
thing is like when you leave. It wasn't 5 months, by the way. It was 4. I messed up there.
Either way, I think the point still stands.
Right. Really, at that point, you're still like. And my bigger problem than just like, oh, they were gone for 4 months was that the episode that they come back was just a long wrestling match. And that's like the worst possible episode to come back on, because then you're basically taking any momentum, any anticipation you might have built up leading up to this return and just completely putting it out because, oh, well, we've had this match planned for a while now, so we got to get it out of the way and do it. And then like, it's kind of unfortunate too, because I remember, if I remember correctly, we had this all night long match, and then the following week they announced the Cueto Cup. So you're coming back immediately doing a long wrestling match, and then immediately getting into a big tournament in which the first round is filled with matches that have pretty obvious outcomes. So like, I feel like the way that they returned for the second half did a lot to not really bring back the momentum that they lost due to the midseason break.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's a shame because like you and I, we listen to like a lot of podcasts and show style, web series that like have Lucha Underground performers and stuff like that on them. And a lot of them said, right, oh, the second half of season 3, it's mind blowing. And I agree. We got so much good shit. But imagine how much stronger it would have been had it not had that disjointed moment of, okay, we're on a 4-month break.
Like to me, I think that like, if you and obviously this is all completely and totally hindsight, so it doesn't really even hold any water.
Right.
Me, I think that the best episode to come back on would have been the episode where the Reptile Tribe won the trios titles.
Yeah.
Like you come back on this big, like crazy moment that you had been building up to, because like the Reptile Tribe were the hottest thing going at the end of the first half of season 3. And like the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, it was like Reptile Tribe was the coolest thing going on, and they had so much momentum. And then you come back to season 3 after the mid-season break, and we don't see Reptile Tribe right away. And I don't even remember what episode it was that they did win the trios titles. But to me, if you would have come back and boom, Reptile Tribe wins the trios titles, that's coming back with a flash. That's coming back, letting people know like this shit is about to hit the fan. And really kind of like starting things out with a bang. And it really does kind of recapture all the momentum that you lost to the midseason break. Now, the problem with this is Lucha Underground's writers and their production guys and their executive producers and everybody on board of Lucha Underground didn't know that there was going to be a mid-season break. They had no clue. They planned for it to run for 40 straight weeks. And then the El Rey Network, the channel, and executives at the channel decided, oh, we want to debut a new show in the Wednesday night 9 p.m. time slot, but that's going to be in October. So we're going to stall and we're going to delay and we're going to prevent Lucha Underground season 3 from having any kind of momentum or consistency. And they made the call to split the season in half, and by such a large margin too. So it really was nothing that the people involved in the show could have helped, but it was still a shitty thing for the El Rey Network to do to them.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great, I'm really glad you brought up the network, because you know, they know that Lucha Underground is one of the best things that they have going for them. I don't know why you would handicap them like this. You know, I don't know
my thing is, I absolutely love Lucha Underground as a product, but that doesn't, and like the El Rey Network as a concept, I dig, because it's like these like gritty old action movies and westerns and horror movies, and you know, to me, it's everything that Spike TV used to want to be before the, you know, whatever the hell they became. But it's done better, and it's done, I think, with a little bit more class, because obviously it's still gritty and campy and stuff, but it's not like, you're not going to get shows like Stripperella on the El Rey Network. Like, I'm pretty either on MTV or Spike or something like that, but like that kind of shit. You're not going to see the, you know, trashy stuff on the El Rey Network. It's just, they're just trying to be cool, and it works for the most part. But I do genuinely feel like if Lucha Underground would ever get dropped by the El Rey Network, it would be a blessing in disguise for the product, because if they could get picked up by Netflix and become a Netflix exclusive show, they would honestly, I feel like, first of all, they would get jerked around a whole hell of a lot less, but more importantly, they would also get even more of that creative freedom, because El Rey, obviously they give them a lot of creative freedom and they're allowed to drop an F-bomb or two every season and stuff. But I mean, hell, you go to Netflix and all of a sudden you aren't necessarily under any cable television constraints whatsoever. Holy hell, imagine what Lucha Underground could do with that.
Well, to invoke one of my, you know, now infamous crude parallels here, like you mentioned transitioning to Netflix, you know, one of my favorite shows ever, Black Mirror. They went to Netflix, and it was the best thing that could have happened to them, because their audience exploded. They realized that working out at Channel 4, which was like, you know, this really small station in the UK, that they had a real international following. But between the creative constraints and the low budget and this and that, like, you know, they just really couldn't do much. You transition to Netflix, whole new world opens up for you. If Lucha Underground,
well, and from what I understand too, even if Lucha Underground isn't necessarily cheap relative to most wrestling shows, from what I understand, it is very inexpensive relative to most TV shows, which is what matters, because that's what Netflix would be in it for. And I think it would be interesting if it would be the first ever Netflix weekly episodic television show, because right now, as we know it, when Netflix drops a show, they drop every episode of a season at once. I think it would be really interesting if a show like Lucha Underground could become the first ever Netflix show to have that weekly live airtime, that you get the episode drops one episode at the same time every week, and everyone just kind of watches it together. Granted, they could watch it on their own time, but the people that are into the show would be anticipating it, waiting for it to drop, and then boom, it drops and everyone starts watching it at the same time. I think that would be an amazing experience.
And you know, dude, I mean, here's the thing, and not to go way off the tracks here, but who knows what can happen? I mean, you and I have been talking.
Well, you know, the thing is, from what I understand, I mean, Lucha Underground just got picked up. This isn't even like a, from what I understand, thing. We know that Lucha Underground got picked up for season 4, but here's what I understand part comes in. From what I understand, TV channels don't negotiate one season at a time. Typically, it's closer to 2, which tells me that the odds are pretty good that Lucha Underground getting a season 4 also means that they got a season 5. All I do is hope that we get kind of a season 2 and 3 situation where we already know that season 4 is going to be in the 20s as far as episodes goes. Meltzer reported 21. I don't buy anything that guy says about Lucha Underground. He never freaking knows anything about Lucha Underground, and he constantly reports incorrect things about Lucha Underground. But he said 21, so that's the only rigid number that we've gotten so far, other than just in the 20s, which we got from, I want to say, Eric Van Wagenen. It might have been Krista Joseph on a podcast, something like that.
Right.
But You know it's in the 20s, which is again similar to season 2. Granted, I hope that the episodes are more, high tempo, and they keep it faster paced, and they, kind of do more in season 4 than they did in season 2, because season 2 felt like a bridge. Season 2 felt more like season 1.5 than season 2. And I really want to have a season 4 and not just a season 3.5. But either way, my hopes are high for season 5 being like another season 1 and 3. Like maybe we're just in a holding pattern where every even numbered season is going to be lackluster and every odd number season is going to be absolutely blow your mind out of the water season.
Maybe. And like the future of Lucha Underground is something that's always kind of at the forefront of my mind when we talk about it, because I mean, you look at the landscape. We've already talked about how aesthetically Lucha Underground seems to be ahead of the curve, and just in terms of the presentation and how it conducts itself. The
Well,
seasonal
and the thing
structure.
is, with the aesthetics, Lucha Underground is so far ahead of the curve that even if they do have to deal with budget cuts and they have to kind of wind back on that stuff, they're still so far ahead of the curve that they could afford to lose some of that visual aesthetic quality and still be ahead of the curve relative to everyone else.
And I agree. And again, though, to kind of bring it back to an earlier point, this is why, like, when you say Lucha Underground becoming a Netflix exclusive show, like that, the more I think about it, the more it really does seem like an attractive idea. Because when you have that kind of a machine behind you, and Netflix getting its own wrestling show would definitely differentiate it. And what I was going to say earlier is, people are coming after Netflix now. I've talked to you a
Yeah.
lot about like Disney's acquisitions. They've got a majority share now in Hulu, and they want to make a run at Netflix. Amazon Prime has been stepping its game up. They want to go after Netflix. So how do you differentiate yourself? We have an exclusive wrestling program that we'll do weekly like any other wrestling show, and it just so happens to be the best one in North America. So, like I'm telling you, I think when you look at the entire environment between the wrestling and the non-wrestling aspects, anything can happen. And I am curious about season 4, especially since it's going to be on the lower end of episodes. Like you said, what's the pacing going to be, and this and that? Because I always love when a season gets more episodes naturally, because more episodes means more lucha. But
Right.
when we look at episodes like this, like episodes 19 and 20, I mean, yeah, they did suffer a bad break. But you look at episode 19, so much great stuff was done here. And then episode 20, I mean, the match was fantastic. This is the kind of product that they're consistently bringing, and I just wish El Rey was more appreciative of that in a way, because again, I don't know why you would
Well,
handicap it.
it's
Like,
the
okay,
thing is, it's not even necessarily El Rey's fault. It's more on the. I mean, it's partially due to El Rey, but it's also partially due to a lack of buzz. And it's really, I mean, it's not a lack of buzz on social media and stuff, but if you just pay attention to Nielsen ratings, Lucha Underground has around 150,000 people that watch it every week, and that is just relative to the amount of money that gets spent on the show. It's really not good, but then you also have to take into account, oh, wait a minute, that 150,000 viewers weekly is still a hell of a lot more than anything else on the El Rey network. And that's also not taking into account everybody that can't watch it because they don't have the El Rey network and they have to watch it online. And hell, I'd be willing to bet that there are a good chunk of people that have the El Rey network and don't even know that they have it because it's such an obscure channel.
I mean, it's crazy to me when we think about television, right? Because I remember, I don't watch the show anymore. I've totally fallen off, but I used to be like a huge Suits fan. And it surprised me because it was actually one of the top 10 most pirated shows. And when I think about Lucha Underground with the cult following that it has and with like the rabid fan base, like how many people watch Lucha Underground through
Yeah,
alternative
I was going to
means that
say,
aren't
because if you
even
just
into?
say top 10 most pirated shows, that's just volume numbers. That's just counting stats. Just, how many people pirate this show. To me, what I want to know is how many people pirate it relative to the number of people who watch it live on television. Because, like, to me, I could honestly imagine more people pirating Lucha Underground than watching it live on the El Rey network. I could see the number of people pirating Lucha Underground being in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Granted, if you would take that number and add that to the live viewers, they'd be beating TNA for ratings.
Yeah. Oh, easily, I think. Easily. And that's the thing, because I mean, I look at these two episodes, 19 and 20, and you could see like the love and the care that was put into them. I just have always wanted to see, and I know you have too, Lucha Underground to get the audience that we feel their product is worth. Because,
Yeah.
and you know, I say this all the time on our podcast, not even on Lucha related stuff, you know, any chance that's appropriate. You know, one thing that I see is I think a lot of people still, even in 2017, think that WWE is the only game in town. It's not. You know, that there are so many great promotions, and to me, Lucha Underground, and you've said this before too, because it has like that telenovela element and stuff like that. Like, it's just so different. We just need to get this in front of more people. Like, even Conan, who, like you with Meltzer, I don't trust anything Conan says. Obviously, the guy's garbage, but you know, he said like he would go to like foreign countries and like different places, and he'd be shocked how, you know, many people knew what Lucha Underground was. And that I can actually believe, because it just has that vibe to it. Like, it's the best kept secret in the wrestling world that to me, not enough people know about. And if they know about it, we've got to translate that into actually helping the overall product. So, with all that said, you want to get into formally reviewing these episodes now?
Well, yeah, and I was even going to tell you, like, as far as All Night Long goes, I have some notes, but I really want to hear your thoughts on that. That's going to be a match and a discussion that you're going to carry the majority of for sure.
I'm fine with that. Let's get right into episode 19, though. We have a cinematic. Dario Cueto is with Delgado, the councilman. And
Rip.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that again. And they're talking about, oddly enough, the Gauntlet of the Gods, and that, you know, Cage loves it. He's consumed by it, or, you know, little does he know that it's consuming him. And, you know, they have a toast like, you know, when the gods come, you know, we're just, you know, peons more or less, but they better recognize that they owe us a massive debt. Cheers to that. And then El Dragon Azteca comes in, and he demands a death match with Matanza because he took out Ray and he tried taking him out. And then Delgado's like, you know, I like this kid, Dario. He's got balls. And then I love that El Dragon Azteca just looks at him. He's like, you're damn right.
I do.
So I want my match. And then Dario's kind of looking like, all right, you want your match? That's fine. It'll be you versus Matanza tonight in a death match. And, you know, that's pretty much that cinematic. So, again, we get another tone setter, which a lot of these beginning cinematics are, you know, that they happen and you know what the course of the night's going to be like. So we know that we're going to get El Dragon Azteca versus Matanza in a death match. You have anything you want to say about this?
No, I don't have anything to add. Yeah, I loved the attitude coming from El Dragon Azteca Jr. here. I love the, you know, the old, this kid's got balls. Damn right I do. That's why I want a death match. Like, it was such a great delivery too. Yeah, this was really good. But then we get back to the temple. We see Matt Stryker. He's talking about, you know, the match tonight between El Dragon Azteca and Matanza. And he's like, and it's going to be a death match. And talking about death reminds me of the man of 1,000 deaths, Mil Muertes, who destroyed Vampiro the week prior. And Vampiro just cuts Matt off. He just stops him. He says, Mil, won't be tonight. Might be next week. Might not be 2 weeks from now, but your time will come. And then Stryker's like all uncomfortable. And he's like, Melissa, please take it away.
Yeah, you better feel uncomfortable, Stryker.
But yeah. You don't deserve comfort, Stryker.
Yeah, you're so right. I love that from Vampiro. And then we get our first formal match of the night, Tejano versus Joey Ryan. I mean, I love Joey Ryan. He's a sleaze bag. I fucking love douchebags, sleaze bags, any kind of bag that is very repulsive in character. I'm probably down with more than likely.
Oh man, you really got really specific there, because I was getting ready to say, what about paper bags?
I guess, yeah, you know what, they're good too. I got no problem with paper bags, but yeah, it was a solid.
Really hilarious. At the grocery store that I used to work at, they tried to convince us bags were better for the environment than paper bags.
Wow, what marks?
There was a legitimate presentation on a computer that every front end employee had to watch, talking about how plastic bags were better for the environment than paper bags.
Jesus Christ. I would have given that presentation a chance had I known that Drew Gulak did it and it was a PowerPoint.
Yeah. Oh God, that would have been so much better.
I know, right? But yeah, this
plus then it would make sense because he's a heel, and of course he's gonna lie.
Yeah, well, dude, it actually, I know we're kind of getting off track here, but it actually amazes me how convincingly he talks like a politician when we actually have politicians in Kane and Rhino on the roster.
We just need Drew Gulak to start pointing at people with his thumb.
Exactly. But yeah, this Tejano Joey Ryan. I mean, if we're talking about something else, once again proving that Tejano's bland, which is what Famous B is setting out to help him with, because he comes out at one point in the cowboy. Yeehaw, Tejano! I love how he says his name. Like, this guy is
He's
the
amazing.
best fucking douche. Like,
Tejano.
Tejano, and just like giddy up, and it's just, oh my god, it's so bad, but it's so good, and that's why I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly. It's so good, so bad. It's a little of everything. It's wonderful. It's just great.
Brenda slides a horseshoe into Tejano. He clops.
Oh wait! You skipped the best part when Joey Ryan was actually getting the leg up, and actually Joey Ryan did pretty well in this match as far as like he was actually kind of taking it to Tejano for a good chunk of this match. But at one point, Famous B is just like, I gotta do something about this. And he goes over and gets the bull rope, and Joey Ryan is pulling it, and Tejano is just like, what is going on? And that's when Brenda hands Tejano, and of course she kisses it first, but then she hands Tejano the horseshoe.
Yeah, and then Tejano clocks Joey Ryan. He pins him. And then I love this exchange too, because then Famous B's like, yeah, we did it. You did it, Tejano. And, raising the arm up, and then Tejano just shoves him. And, Brenda's kind of, flirting a little bit, but then, Tejano goes up the stairs. But then Famous B is like, I'm okay. He likes me. He likes me. He's going to call me. He's going to be famous. Like, I love it. No wonder I left him a voicemail. I still feel like I left him the best voicemail of any of the calls that he got. But yeah, I mean, hopefully.
Dude, I was really hoping when that whole thing happened that they were going to play some of the voicemails live on air and that you were going to get put on there.
I couldn't believe that I pulled it off with the confidence I did, given my anxiety. And I'm just like, hey, look, all those people are losers. You want to rep TWitWoW. And you know what, Ashton? I'd still like to think that Famous B would like to represent TWitWoW.
See people, not only is Lucha Underground a wonderful television product, it also helps people get over their anxiety.
I know, right? Who the fuck needs therapy? But
not your face.
But do you have anything else you want to?
You should keep seeing your therapist.
Oh, absolutely. I desperately need help. But do you have anything else you want to say about this match?
No, I just loved the delivery of the I'm going to do something about this from Famous B when Joey starts going for the bull rope. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So after this, speaking of brilliance, we get Johnny
Mundo.
Oh, God. And then Johnny Mundo, he lists off all the people that he's beaten in the temple. Prince Puma, Phoenix, just everybody, because, he's the best. And he tells all the believers, none of you believed in Johnny Mundo. And then I love the one fan, I believed in you, Johnny. Like, stop pulling.
I know, dude. And then he kept droning on, too, about how no one believed him. And then the same guy was just like, I believed.
And it's like, dude, stop pulling a me. Greatness is talking. Shut the fuck up.
You know damn sure that would have literally been you if you were in the arena.
I ain't denying it.
And you know what? I can't help but feel like if you were in the arena, Johnny would have been like, except for you, buddy. I know you believed.
I know, right? I would have been like, yes, I've been validated. All of you can suck this chub. But Johnny said that the only people that believed in him were Worldwide Underground, and specifically we got PJ Black and Jack Evans in the ring because Ty is at home, and he does acknowledge that she's nursing an injury because she's amazing and she needs to be at 100% because these plebs don't even deserve to see her at 50%. And he's like, you guys are the best friends a guy could ask for. They have a hug, which I thought was a beautiful moment, but this crowd boos them because they're disgusting. And he just talks about how he's going to go into all night long. He's going to beat that fat piece of trash, the Mac. But then the Mac comes in and doesn't know how to use his words, and he begins beating up Mundo. And, then Worldwide Underground tries coming in and isolating it, but Mac takes them both out with stunners. And then my favorite part of this whole thing, because I love Johnny's heel work so much, and I love this run so much, especially seeing it a second time. He's crawling over, grabbing his championship, trying to get away. Matt grabs him by the legs, and like a scared child, he's like, security, security, security. And then security finally comes in. They pull Mac away. And, because Johnny Mundo is just trying to keep law and order in the temple, like a civilized human being.
Of course.
And, so then Mac starts stunning certain security officers. He throws others over the top rope and pretty much just clears the ring out. And then he said, Johnny Mundo, I'm going to whoop your ass, and I'm going to do it all night long. And he says,
and did you notice, by the way, that as the Mac was telling Mundo that he was going to do it all night long, that he was gasping for breath because he was blown up?
Exactly, because he doesn't
have to do it all night long.
Oxygen, suck that gas. But yeah, Mundo just has a scared look on his face. Why? Because Mac has his hands on Mundo's Lucha Underground Championship gold. The whole thing was disgusting, if I'm being quite truthful. But yeah, Mac, supposedly looking dominant, as if he would even know the meaning of the word. And that's the end of that segment. And I gotta say, this was one of, because I'm trying to think of everybody Johnny Mundo feuded with, like, in his run. And I think, like, again, the three big feuds were Mac, Ray, and Puma, unless I'm forgetting somebody. And of course, Sexy. But
that Sexy was the first one. Yeah, she was the first.
Yeah, Sexy was the first one. But I mean, like, after he overcame Sexy, like, yeah, it was Mac. Then Ray,
she doesn't even count. She's just a statistic.
Exactly. And he's had in-ring segments, I feel like, relating to all three of these feuds. I still think the one with Ray, though, was the best one easily, but this wasn't bad. Anything you want to add to this?
No, man, I don't think so. Let's get into it.
All right. After this, we got Cage versus Veneno. And, man, I gotta be honest. I know, like, as Johnny Scumbag and, like, having fun and letting my hair down in live reactions, I give Cortez Castro a hard time. The guy's quality. Like, he does his job and he does it so well because he's trying his Veneno, and we've got like a hope spot or two where he's like on offense, but Cage just shuts that shit down. The discus lariat, and then I gotta be honest, if anybody is a worthy inheritor of the Steiner screwdriver, it sure as fuck is Cage. I love the drill claw. It fits him perfectly. It's so good. Drills him down. And then after the match, he gets the glove back on. And he starts manhandling the referee. I think it's Justin Borden was the official here. And, shoving him and stuff like that. I love aggro Cage. It's the best. I love that he's angry at everybody. And he's just this unstoppable force. Please give this man the Lucha Underground title between season 4 and
5. Did we already have a discussion about how much I adore that nickname for this?
What? The Drill Claw nickname?
No, aggro Cage. That is the best thing I've ever heard.
Oh, well, thank you. Because we've never called him that before, have we? Or
I feel like either I'm having deja vu, which is very possible because it would be like the second or third time I've had it today, or we have in fact had this discussion before, and I'm just crazy.
Yeah. Regardless, though, I mean, aggro Cage just absolutely dominated.
That's such a good nickname, though. Because John, please tell me you're not like oblivious to what you're referencing here.
I mean, because I know aggro, I thought was just another way of saying aggressive. And like,
oh no, you're right. Oh my god, you really don't know. You ever heard of Guts?
No.
Global Guts?
No.
The old Nickelodeon show?
No.
Dude, oh my god. Well, there used to be a Nickelodeon show called Guts that eventually became an international show that was called Global Guts. And it was basically, they would just pick a few kids to do like physical challenges where they would be like strapped to, the ceiling and having to shoot basketballs, or they would have to go through like this crazy obstacle course, or they would be like riding around a track on tricycles or something like that. And it was called Guts. But at the end of every episode, the points would get totaled up, and then the final challenge was called the Aggro Crag.
Oh, wow. Okay. Man, this around the world reference. Goddamn.
Do you have it? Guts.
I love it. That's great. I love it.
Dragon
Man X90 apparently knows what you're talking about. God, Dragon Man is just so wonderful.
Yeah, that show was right around the same time as like what was it called? Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh, now see, I never watched the show, but I've heard of it because I'm a fan of like Nostalgia Critic and stuff, and I think he's talked about that show in the past.
That's what that era was, though. It was that era of Nickelodeon. It was amazing.
Yeah, the only show that I ever got to watch that was like in that vein was Double Dare 2000, and I loved it.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
always
I
loved
enjoyed
like
that
those
show too.
zany.
That show was great, but that was,
Yeah.
I mean, that was the new generation version of the original, which was just Double Dare, which I also like.
Yeah, exactly. So, you said you got nothing else to. Well, actually, no. We're still talking about Cage Veneno. After Cage, decimates Veneno with the drill claw, Sexy comes in and starts putting the boots quite literally to
Wait,
Veneno.
did you mention that Cage shoved Justin Borden for no reason whatsoever?
I did mention that earlier. Yes, he just
Okay.
manhandled Justin Borden. Yeah. And so Sexy, I mean, came in and literally put the boots to Veneno and said in Spanish, stay the hell away from me and this and that, according to Vampiro, who I trust more than anybody else. And so Sexy at least used her brain and said, well, I have spiders in my locker. That guy's wearing a spider-inspired mask.
And his
He's the
name is
culprit.
literally Veneno, which means venom, and Vampiro implied that it was spider venom.
Yeah, and so even though it's like it's a loose connection in the sense of, well, how can you prove it or any of this other stuff? I mean, at least Sexy's finally thinking,
I
and
mean,
not to
she's
be.
moving up in the world as far as, solving problems goes.
Yeah, I mean, not to be that dick, but just based on how she was written this season, I'm really beginning that this was her first time using the concept of thought. So good job, Sexy. You're finally putting the pieces together. That said, we can move on. We have a Dark Puma and Katrina cinematic. Brother, to me, I've always considered this your world, given how much you respect
So is
Puma's
it just me,
abilities.
or was there a hint of sexual tension here?
Oh, absolutely. I was like, are you
Okay.
guys just gonna like devour each other or what's gonna happen here? So what
Yeah, like, I think it's because Katrina finally does have that connection with Puma that like he's died and apparently so has she. And so yeah, they've got like a little extra connection now, and it's funny because she prevented Mill from dying. So in a sense, she also went out of her way to prevent herself from having the same connection with Mill.
right.
So yeah, so Puma is beating the shit out of a punching bag with fighting sticks, and then Katrina shows up and says it's never the same once you die. Once you cross over into the spirit realm, all the awful voices, they come back with you. I hear them too. And then Puma says there's only one vision that I can't get out of my head. Blood and pain, lots of pain, but it's not mine. And then Katrina just like, well, then whose? Come on, really? You needed to ask Mills. And then Katrina's like, oh, yeah, well, I see the same thing you, which, I mean, not literally, but that's pretty much what she says. Because she says, I've had a similar vision, but it's not Mill's blood, it's yours. And then she disappears. And then Puma gets super rage-tastic and uses the fighting stick. He does a backflip first because, of course, those are 100% necessary when fighting. Fighting sticks to literally knock the punching bag off the roof or whatever the hell it's attached to.
Yeah, like how many of these are we gonna have to replace for your ass? Because you
I know he
punched through one.
and now he's using the fighting sticks to break another.
Like, bitch, it's coming out of your paycheck.
I just want to quote two comments in chat that I love. First of all, PW Gregory said it's Katrina. She embodies sexual tension. Touche, sir. That's a great point. And Hypothesis said Mill got zoned undead style.
Yeah. You surmised the cinematic perfectly. I really have nothing that I can add, so I think we're just gonna move on.
Well, before we do move on, I do just want to address, to be fair, Mill did end up dying to the hands of Phoenix in the first ever Grave Consequences, and Katrina planned that out. So we can't say that he got fully friend zoned permanently just when she first met him when he was a child, which makes sense. But eventually, when he was a grown ass man and a beastly human adult, she let him die and then brought him back. So now they do, I guess, have that connection.
Believe me, if Mill ever saw the way that she kissed Phoenix, that would have been a friend zone right there.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Because goddamn.
Yes, Paul. Puma and Katrina did have not an entire conversation, but part of a conversation exclusively based on the concept of I'm rubber and you're glue.
Paul just seems to be on point today because he had a comment about Stryker earlier too, and yeah, he's just been on point today. But
I saw it,
regardless,
but I didn't want to read it because I didn't want to offend anybody.
But yeah, speaking of people that are on point, El Dragon Azteca Jr. hopes to be on point against Matanza because we've got our death match. And I love this. I love the energy in this. I love the violence in this. And yeah, these guys are such a great contrast because you've got Matanza played by the ever so talented Jeff Cobb, who to me is a fucking treasure.
Yes.
Who's just got that, Olympic background and is a fucking hoss. Like, you guys got to understand, for all the joking we do, which isn't even really joking because I would never want to be confronted with the actual possibility of being confronted by, Ishii or Mina, like, you're damn right I have Jeff Cobb on that list, whether or not he is Matanza, because I already am.
Here's the difference, though. If you meet up with Ishii or Suzuki in a dark alley, you have to fear for your life. If you meet it with Jeff Cobb in a dark alley, the only thing you have to fear is a wonderful smelling man that'll probably take you out to a nice dinner and pay for it.
I know, right? I've heard he's a teddy bear, and that just warms my heart. But unfortunately, he wasn't a teddy bear here to Azteca. These guys killed each other, and it was just fantastic. One spot that stood out in my mind, El Dragon Azteca's dive using the chair, onto Matanza. Like, watching El Dragon Azteca work here, I'm like, you know what? Whether you're going to do Puma 2.0 or whatever, which was one theory because the mascot left, or if you're just going to find that next guy, like, El Dragon Azteca Jr. is, like, on call. Like, he's stepping up. He's like, I can do that. And he can.
I mean, we've already mentioned the phrase aggro multiple times. I love aggro Azteca. He is so good when he ups the aggressiveness and starts to really have that babyface fire. I love it.
Oh, dude, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'm like, this is a guy whose offense is breathtaking, who, in terms of personality, isn't bad. I think there's still more to be developed there, but especially a guy that's like...
with Azteca, he has a personality that exists. And sometimes masked guys, that's all you can really ask for, right?
Absolutely. I think as a guy that's kind of feeling himself, that knows on some level how good he is, even if at times, like, he overestimates that ability. I mean, that reminds me of one of my favorite anime characters ever, Vegeta, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm hot shit, and then you come up against something that's stronger than you, it's like, oh, God, no, I'm not, but I'm going to get better, and then I'm going to do this all over again. Azteca has that kind of vibe to me.
Puma is Goku?
You know what? Probably. Because, I mean, look at everything he did in his tenure. I mean, probably, yeah. So, but, I mean, great back and forth between these two. I think, when you think of deathmatch, they really did a lot here. But, of course, everybody's going to know this match for its climax. They're in the bleachers. Matanza's got him throttled by the throat. At first, Cueto saying, no, Matanza, no. I guess maybe thinking that it wasn't going to go his way. He choke slams him through the bleachers, which, yeah, it's as sick a visual as it sounds like. And I love how the camera, because you want to talk about, like, cinematography and, like, all that, like, aesthetic work that we talked about in the intro. I love that after that, the camera immediately cuts to Cueto. He's got his arms up. Yes! Like, he's so happy and triumphant. It's the greatest fucking thing. And, like, just seeing the destruction that his brother has caused. So, yeah, Matanza's ruled the winner because, Azteca's fucking dead. And, then Ray comes out, though, and he takes the fight to Matanza. And I'm going to hand the ball over to you. What did you think about this brawl here between these two? Well, first of all, what did you think about the death match? Because you didn't even get to give your opinion on that.
Well, no, I mean, there's not a lot to say about the death match just because the most interesting moment was the finish with Matanza putting, Azteca through the bleachers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it really... we kind of had similar vibes with the Matanza Ray fight to what we had with the Matanza Azteca death match because both of them fought mostly above the believers on that, like, the raised platform that most of the guys have their entrances through, and everyone uses that to get over to the roof of Dario Cueto's office to dive off of it and that kind of stuff. And both of the matches, I would say, well, both of the matches, one of the match and the fight, both took place a majority up there. So
right.
Really, they felt kind of similar, but the difference is when it was Matanza versus Azteca, it felt like Azteca was almost like on the run. Like he was trying to avoid Matanza as much as possible. He was using his elusiveness, Whereas when it was Matanza versus Ray, it felt more 50-50, more back and forth, more like Ray was taking it to Matanza just as much as Matanza was taking it to him. Did you get that vibe too?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I like about that too? I think it's Lucha Underground's own like subtle way of illustrating that distinction between mentor and pupil. You know, that
Absolutely.
as Tekka's still growing, but Ray is a veteran for a reason. And I love how they show that contrast through Matanza as a kind of medium. I think that's so well done. But Ray, of course, ends up putting Matanza through a building, you know, which was again another great fucking visual. And Dario's freak out. He's just like, oh god, no, 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 Matanza, everybody out, like, you know, just losing his shit. Yeah, it's a great final few minutes. Well, I mean, of course, we have a cinematic after this, which we'll get to in a moment. But yeah, and that's why, like, that I think right there in a snapshot is one reason why 4 months off really hurt them, because that's such a high. And I feel like you could have like played with that high a little bit with like a 2-week break, like make us really anticipate it. But 4 months, like every high wears off. And like you have this momentum and this energy and this craziness, and then that, and it sucks. But I mean, still, just taking it as a snapshot, just so good. So good. So anything else you want to say about this before we get into our final cinematic for episode 19?
I don't think so. Let's get into it.
All right. Well, yeah, we've got everybody evacuating the temple,
And
and
a few people are sticking around because they want autographs from the one and only Melissa Santos.
which, who can blame them? Melissa Santos is wonderful. But somebody else who thinks
And
that
about to be a mom.
I know, right? Good for her. But yeah, I look at this, and we're not the only ones that think Melissa is wonderful. Marty the Moth does, albeit in a very different way. And he's peeping and creeping, and just kind of looking, you know, at Melissa from afar. When suddenly, you know, he gets
Another Melissa shows up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Another Melissa shows up. Marty gets abducted, and then we cut to another kind of scene where he's all bound up in rope, you know, with this
For
light.
those of you who are confused, Mariposa's real name is Melissa, I think Anderson, but she might have gotten married.
Anderson, yeah, I think you're right.
But I think she got married, so I don't think it's Anderson anymore. But still, that's what her name was. And she was also known as Cheerleader Melissa on the indie.
Yes.
That is.
Yes. So yeah, we got the swaying light back and forth. And she said, you know, well, brother, you've gotten my attention. And, you know, perhaps the moth has, you know, learned how to fly. You know, maybe you're just, you know, finally growing up more or less. And Marty, you know, is kind of smiling and laughing. And she decks him hard in the face, which is great. And he's like, I did good. I did good. And he's just kind of laughing.
And he just says it over and over again. And that's it. And by the way, he said, learned how to fly. But it was actually... She said about how, oh, you're maybe not a little boy anymore, and maybe the moth has finally seen the light. That's what.
Yeah, the moth has finally seen the light. That was it.
But then, yeah, she slaps him, and then Marty just starts saying, "I did good" over and over again, and that was pretty much. And it's worth noting he was wrapped up in basically the same kind of cocoon that he wrapped Sexy Star in to end season 1.
Yeah, all about that rebirth. So yeah, that's the episode. You want to just get right into episode 20 here?
All night. Oh.
Since you said this is mostly me, I'm gonna tell you what.
I can start, and then you can have the strong finish. I'll take us halfway. You finish it out strong.
Sure.
Okay. So obviously we start things off. Mundo and Mac all night long. We get the announcements, all that stuff. Johnny Mundo. I thought this was hilarious. Johnny Mundo got the first fall with the end of the world. 4 minutes and 20 seconds into the match. Exactly. I counted.
Yeah, just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Mundo got his second fall on the Mac 3 minutes and 20 seconds. After that, 7 minutes, 40 seconds into the match with that crazy Magistral Cradle that he used the rope to bridge. Beautiful, amazing, excellent. So now we're at Mundo 2, Mac 0. And it was looking kind of one-sided. Because, you know, Mundo, you know, he wasn't really fully cheating for the first fall. He was just kind of being a dick because he was like hanging on to the ring post, and he was like back away, and Mac was up on the middle rope and trying to grab it. And then Mundo grabbed Mac's leg and pulled it out from under him, and it slammed Mac down really hard on the mat, and that set him up for the end of the world. But the second fall was outright cheating because he used the rope for leverage. But he got away with it, so who gives a shit? And then the Mac got his first fall 10 minutes and 49 seconds into the match, so 3 minutes, 9 seconds after Mundo's second fall, with a huge power bomb. But then we get this crazy spot where Mundo, I think, does like a dive or something, and then he starts to feign a leg injury. And we get the medics out there and everything, and they're getting ready to put Mundo on a stretcher. And then when Mac has his back turned, Mundo does a kip up and grabs the stretcher and hits Mac with it, and then DDTs Mac on the stretcher for his third fall of the match at 18 minutes, 28 seconds in. So there was a longer break in between Mac's first fall and Mundo's third fall. But then it was another like 4-minute kind of deal, 4 minutes and 10 seconds in between Mac's second fall and Mundo's third fall, because then he hits a stunner on Johnny for the second fall. So at this point, it's 3-2. And John, I'm going to let you take over from here.
Yeah.
This is when shenanigans start happening. This is when people start showing up and shit gets crazy.
Yeah, this is just to kind of touch on very briefly everything that you said. I mean, first of all, that end of the world was fucking gorgeous, and I love that he outsmarted Mac. The cradle was perfection, and I love that, like, again, that the heel tactics that he employs to gain an edge. Mac's powerbomb is sick. I love that as a secondary finisher for him because it's believable to me. I actually like it more than Tejano's powerbomb. To me, it just has more oomph to it. So good on Mac there. The stretcher spot, my God. Like, what I love too, and it's just a little thing, like, he didn't hit him, like, he did the DDT on the stretcher, you're right about that, but it wasn't like hitting him with the stretcher. He low blowed him with the leg that was supposedly injured, and I love that, like, field goal kick right to the balls, and Striker's voice just dies off because he's like, oh, I see what's happening here. So that was great.
And then like, after the pin, he does jumping jacks too.
With the best fucking shit-eating grin I've ever seen from anyone. Like, that's the kind of smile I want to greet the world with every day of my life. It was so good. So yeah, I mean, and then like you said, like the stunner to Mundo, you know, really putting him down because we're just Mac just got pissed off. And of course, you know, he had the stretcher spot where he just slid Mundo down all those stairs, which again, another great visual there. And it starts popping off because, you know, Mundo's like, oh, well, shit, you know, I've got to really, you know, go on defense now. This is getting a little crazy for me. So he tries to hide. And, you know, Mac feels like he's gotten him, but somebody else slides out and he gives chase. So he starts chasing him. But then Mundo comes out from the ring apron. And it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. If that's Mundo, then that means, oh boy. And it turns out that it was PJ Black. So then they start jumping, you know, the Mac. But then Son of Havoc comes out to try and even those odds. And like you said, like everything got crazy. But then he ended up getting neutralized eventually, you know, because everybody's just kind of killing each other. But then, like, another high point of the match comes where Mundo, he's got a mic and he's like, you know, this Son of Havoc, you piece of crap, you Mac, you fat piece of trash. You know, you can't stop us. You know, Mundo still has the lead at this point at 3-2. And, you know, he says to the band, hey, you guys up there, you got any victory songs? And they start playing, and it's great because Mundo's champion. All's right with the world. And then she happened. A maraca falls to the floor. Striker finds that peculiar, but then we find that the person playing them dives off into a crossbody, which admittedly looked fucking gorgeous. And it was Sexy Star putting the boots to everybody. So, you know, that gets all evened up. And then, you know, Mac and Mundo, that they continue their whole fight, but Mac gets a pin there because I think, if I remember correctly, he did like his pile driver or like his Emerald Flosion or whatever it was through the two tables, which was a sick fucking looking spot. And then he gets Mundo in there and he gets the pin. He tries pinning him again because, you know, Mundo's out. And Mundo somehow able to kick out. Then he rolls over on Mac. Mac kicks out, and it's back and forth. They're both trying to get that deciding fall because, you know, it's the nail-biting finish. Well, then we've got, you know, ultimately Mac gains the upper hand because Mundo misses end of the world, you know, on the ladder. That really, you know, hurts him considerably. Mac sets Mundo up on these tables. He's going to scale the ladder. He's going to go for this grand finish. He starts to scale it, but then Ricky Mundo, who is still Ricky Mandel at this point, he comes in. He latches onto the leg of the Mac, you know, trying to stop the ascent, but then, you know, Sexy takes him out. And I love this too, because this is something I don't think I talked about enough on our first viewing of this. Didn't you just love how everything was happening in these final few seconds? Because you've got Sexy taking out Ricky Mandel, you've got Son of Havoc doing a moonsault, so it's like the whole environment has come alive at this point. Like there's activity.
Really, if you want to make an analogy of this match to like an orchestra, we had like this really good build up where each individual instrumental section got their chance to play, but these last couple minutes, these last few seconds even, were kind of that part in the orchestra where everyone is playing and it's all happening at the same time, and it just sounds amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Like this is the crescendo. This is like Cirque du Soleil, just like on steroids. Like everybody's doing something. Mac is on the top, does a really great looking frog splash from the ladder through the tables. And, you know, you're looking at the clock. Me at the time being the Mundo mark, and I think this was before the rain got spoiled for me, I think. I'm freaking out because I'm like, no, not this way. Please, dear God, not this way. And Max just inching. And, you know, if you're not a piece of shit like me, you're really feeling the sympathy because you're like, Max, so close. And he gets the cover. 1, 2, time's up. 1 count away. They did this so well. You know, in some ways, I feel like this was better than the first All Night Long, but I feel like in other ways, the first All Night Long was superior. But watching this again, and I don't know about you, I'd be more curious about your takes since you're more important.
Oh no, to me, I mean, to me, this was a solid match for sure, and it was really enjoyable, and I can enjoy it watching it a second time around. But it's nowhere close to the first one, in my opinion.
Oh, see, I was going to ask you. That wasn't what I was going to ask you, although I do appreciate you, like, making your stance known. To me, I actually ended up liking this match more watching it again, I think, than I did the first viewing. I think I was able to appreciate a lot of things more, especially, again, that ending where, like, Son of Havoc takes them out. Sexy Star neutralizes, you know, Ricky Mundo. And, you know, they're also neutralized as a consequence because they've given the last of their energy now. And, you know, and then I think about other, like, fun spots where Son of Havoc, like, he smacks the water bottle out of Cueto's end and he refuels Mac with beer. I didn't even mention that part. That was great, you know, a great character moment for Mac. And, yeah, I feel like this was very imaginative, very fun, but, you know, it ends up in a draw. But then Cueto's like, hold on. And, you know, he pretty much says, there are no ties in my temple. So next week, we are going to have, you know, sudden death. Mac versus Mundo, even if it takes all night long again. And, you know, the crowd's going nuts. Everybody's going nuts. But then Mundo, see, here's what pisses me off as a Mundo fan. The guy can't have fucking anything. He just went the whole program, right, against a formidable competitor in Mac. Wants to celebrate with his championship because, you know, way back in the Carney days to now, it's, you know, draw means the title goes to the champion. So he's taking his rightful place in the center of the ring. But who's the poor sport about it? The Mac. And he, you know, turns Mundo around. He stuns him. And again, he poses with the world title over Mundo's prone body. And all I can think is, have you no shame, sir? Just absolutely unbecoming of a contender. But that's how we end it. And then Sexy Star, of course, has to get in on it because she's a narcissist. And, oh, yeah, you did good, Mac, because violence solves everything, says the woman who says that everybody is sexy, everybody's a star. Now advocating this shit. So that's just great. And that's how we go off the air. There's no closing cinematic. Again, it was just this match. Great match. Great point in Mundo's title reign. And really, you know, being completely serious, great work by the Mac as a babyface. I feel like he had a very interesting arc this season that we know because we can talk openly did culminate in Aztec Gold and the trios titles. I'll be curious what his relationship, because we already know like he came in with Killshot, but I'll be curious what his relationship is going to be with these two guys in the context of like their animosity and stuff in season 4. And yeah, so I feel like this is a great moment for both guys and just a really fun outing, just a great episode. So that's all I've got to say about it. And that wraps up episodes 19 and 20. So unless you have any concluding remarks, partner, I'm going to hand it back to you now to take us home.
All right, I can't believe we're ending this already, but I guess it is almost 6. Wow. Okay, this actually
we had a long introductory discussion this week.
Yeah, because of the big discussion about the mid-season break. But you know what? This was the episode to do it on because this was the episode that bridged said gap. So it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So,
All right, guys. Well, I mean, hell, let's finish things up now. I want to really throw out a big reminder to everyone because we do have 9 people watching now. I'm assuming not everybody's done this. Get your Q&A questions in, guys. Q&A is tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 4 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, or if you're in the UK, 10 p.m. And there aren't as many questions this month as we've gotten used to over the last couple. And I knew it was a good decision not to lower the cap from 4 to 3 because I knew that there would be a month that something like this would happen. But just want to make sure that everybody is aware that our Q&A is tomorrow, December 28th. And it's going to be a little bit on the shorter side unless more people get their questions in. The best way to do that is to go on John's Twitter, which is linked in the description of this video. John's Twitter, twitter.com/John_TWitWoW. And he has a pinned tweet that you can reply to with questions. That's the easiest way to do it. He already has all of the questions that have been asked so far on that pinned tweet in a little Google document that he's going to send me tomorrow before we go live so that I can consolidate it with all of the questions that I've collected through Facebook and YouTube comments and DMs to my Twitter. So that's going to get handled. We're going to be going live at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Did we agree on 5, by the way, John?
Yeah, 5's fine with me.
I just wanted to make sure because I said 5 originally, and then I was like, wait a minute, that sounds wrong. But I think that actually is correct.
Actually, I thought I remember from your schedule though that you had 7 on there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's my.
Do you want me to just look though? Because I don't want to mislead.
No, you're right. No, the reason I'm saying okay, that's my mistake is because I just looked and it does say 7. So we're gonna stick with what the schedule says. We're gonna go 7 tomorrow evening. And unfortunately, if you're in the UK, that means midnight. But for those of you in the rest of the US, it's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock Pacific. I think if you're in France, it's 2 a.m. So hopefully you're able to stay up late. I don't know. But either way, still, get your Q&A questions in. Really want to emphasize that. Now that I've kind of gotten that out of the way and make sure that you guys are aware of it, we have all of our Lucha Underground rewatch playlists in the description, as well as our season 3 live reactions and TWitWoW review playlists. All of that's in the description. Remember to like this video if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of these 2 episodes. Let us know what you thought of Lucha Underground season 3 in hindsight. Of course, remember to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And once you do, click on the little bell icon that pops up to get notified every single time we go live or upload a video. Remember to follow us both on Twitter and like our Facebook page. We do have an official TWitWoW Facebook page where I share all of these videos too. And of course, if you're interested in checking out our subreddit, go for that. You have 2 options to support us, one of which is to buy merch on our Teespring store. The link to that is also in the description. And finally, check out our Patreon. As of right now, we are going to be doing progress live reactions in January, but there was a point back in November when we hit the $120-something community goal. And by the time the payments actually got processed and went through, it was under 120 and we weren't able to do them this month. So I'm hoping that they actually stay where they are and we stay over the $120 community goal and we are able to live react to progress in January. But if you want to prevent an issue from arising, keep donating. Excuse me. Keep donating. Push us past where we are. And then if somebody's credit card gets declined, or if someone, pulls out of their donation at the last minute, or if some kind of problem goes down, we still get to do progress live reactions. I want to do it. I want to get reinforcements. I want you guys to get in here. And plus, if you donate $3, you get into the Discord anyway. John, do me a favor and take over. I'm going to go cough.
Okay. So yeah, you just plug Q&A, guys. That's going to be tomorrow. Like we said, we're going live at 7 with that. And beyond that, all I can think is, because it's not a pay-per-view week this week, Sunday, the 31st, huge. You want to talk about going the distance, people. That is our year-end awards.
Last year, I believe we had 54. This year, we have 57.
Yeah, and it's going to be unbelievable. We go live with that, guys, at 5. because it's going to be a deep seater. You think Q&As are deep seats, and I usually joke about that when we get a high volume of questions. These are always guaranteed to go 5 some hours because we go in depth with each award. It's a celebration of the best of professional wrestling of 2017. It's in the same vein to me of 5 where we get to let our hair down, not be so critical, except when we're talking about worst ofs, and just really celebrate what was great about the year and just abhor what was awful about it. So that's Sunday. That's going to be a 5. And then Monday, because we don't miss a freaking beat, people. It's 5 fave 5s. I've already got my list made. I think you guys are going to be shocked by some rearrangements, some additions, some subtractions that I have on my list this year.
Oh, and by the way, regarding our Q&A, or not our Q&A, our year-end awards, last year we went 5 hours, 3 minutes, 5 seconds. The year before that, we went 5 hours, 4 minutes, and like 20-some seconds. The year before that, we only went 2.5 hours, but we didn't have as many awards. And the year before that, we went almost 3 hours, but again, also didn't have as many awards. So,
and then when you put those two together,
5-hour commentary.
5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Tuesday, depending on, now again,
yeah, really this is where it gets interesting on Tuesday, because if we get the $120 community goal on Patreon, if we keep it, if we stay, right now it says 124, and if exactly $124 goes through, or 121 if somebody pulls out a Patreon or whatever, if we are over 120, we will live react to Progress Chapter 1 this coming Tuesday. I am so freaking excited that this might actually be happening. I just want to make sure it actually does happen. So get your donations in to reinforce that community goal. But if it doesn't happen, we're still going to be doing something pretty cool, because then instead of Progress Chapter 1, we'll start we won't be live reacting at all. We'll be doing preview and predictions for Wrestle Kingdom 12.
Yes. That is going to be so much fun. I mean, again, either thing, and obviously we've been pushing hard for Progress, but if we don't get Progress, we do have Wrestle Kingdom preview predictions. I think this is the first time we'll be doing a preview and predictions for a Wrestle Kingdom. So either way, TWitWoW is breaking new ground, because either we enter new territory with coverage of Progress, or we just do a new vein with New Japan, which New Japan has had an incredible year. You know, just kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge there for Sunday, getting you hyped up for those year-end awards.
And by the way, if you're having trouble deciding, if you're like, oh, but I really want them to do preview and predictions for New Japan, realize that that's one commentary, whereas if we get to Progress, it's 4. Because if we get to Progress, even though we won't be doing preview and predictions for Wrestle Kingdom, we will be live reacting to Progress all 4 Tuesdays in January.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
we're a one-time thing. It's not just pick between one Progress live reaction or a preview and prediction. No, it's not that. It's really push for Progress, because that's more content for the channel once every week, every single Tuesday. Progress chapters 1 through 4 in January. You know, Wrestle Kingdom preview predictions is nice, but it's a consolation prize.
Absolutely. And then just moving right along here, if you're here for Lucha Rewatch, which is the commentary we're finishing up, we'll be back here again January 3rd at 5. This is episode 11, so it'll be covering episodes 21 and 22. Then in that same vein, it'll be an NXT review. We'll be going live at 9 with that. We'll also be going live at 9 tonight, by the way, with an NXT review. And then Thursday on the 4th we go live at 5, Wrestle Kingdom 12 live reactions. I cannot fucking wait for Wrestle Kingdom. Let's go, Naito, as far as I'm concerned. Naito! But yeah, that's going to be January 4th. Guys, we are coming at you with everything. Prepare your anuses, because it's going to be one hell of a time. I'll tell you that right now. So with that said, we will see you again for NXT tonight at 9. And until then, tune in and peace out.